Hello and welcome to the United Devil channel with me, JB. Hope you're all doing really well this afternoon. Obviously I didn't do a stream this morning on the basis that again it's some holidays and I kind of have to get in where I can, and I'm kind of glad that I've held off slightly. We can go through some stuff that's come out this morning about Rasmus, Onana, etc. But I want to start off with this is some breaking news. The last 50 minutes from Ross Harwood. Ross Harwood is he's quite close to United, in terms of his followers and X. He's got 60,000, so he's quite well respected and known. So breaking news, and I quote him: "Deal for Sesko advancing. Personal terms have been agreed with the Slovenian. Talks with Leipzig over a deal structure getting close to agreement. Expect this deal to go through. Amorim to get his new number 9 is a crucial position he wanted to secure this summer." So what I'm expecting now to happen with the Sesko deal, so Danny B, legend of the chat, Bobby, legend of the chat. So breaking news is that according to Ross Harwood, and I think I'm going to agree with this, that the deal for Sesko is advancing, and personal terms agreed with the Slovenian. Talks with Leipzig over a deal structure are getting close to an agreement. Expect the deal to go through pretty quickly. So it looks like Sesko has agreed terms. So I'm expecting now, I guess I will slightly say welcome to the chat, obviously everybody, and I guess that the chat is amazing. What I will always say is be respectful to the chat, get your opinions in here. The chat is amazing, some absolute legends in here as always. Thank you for, of course, hit that like, favorite and subscribe, get us out there. Come and join in. What I will always say, try and be respectful to the community. Come in here, I don't mind if you take it off on a tangent. I quite like different opinions to mine. I'm not a dictator here. I'm led by the chat of what we actually want to talk about as fans, as long as we are, as long as it's relative to the topic in hand. We get all different fans in here. We get Liverpool fans in here. Spirit of LFC comes in here a bit, and I do love the band. So if you have just joined, breaking news, and this is literally just in the last hour to 45 minutes to an hour, is according to Ross Harwood, is that a deal for Sesko is advancing. Personal terms agreed with the Slovenian. Talks of Leipzig over a deal structure getting close. JB, can you make, if he wants to be, then absolutely. I said, Danny B, if you want to be a mod, my friend, give us a thumbs up or something, and of course I will make you a mod, being a legend of this chat. So expect the deal to go through. Amorim to get his number 9, which is a crucial position. So Ross Harwood has gone hard and gone early on this. So as it stands, personal terms have been agreed with Sesko, and the deal is very close, and the deal structure is very close to getting an agreement. So this is a good segue as well into Rasmus and what I wanted to talk about. So it looks like Sesko is going to be done really soon, as I think was predicted by me and some others, basically saying that Sesko is done, he's agreed, and the structure is nearly in place. So one of the things that pushing this deal through, and I think is really important to acknowledge this, is that Newcastle were pushing this deal hard. The fact that we are getting this deal done quickly shows that we need to do it. Now, the good thing also is it has come out that we don't need to sell. We don't need to sell to buy. And this is what is pushing this deal through. The fact we don't need to sell to buy to get Sesko. Newcastle are pushing hard on this deal. So where Newcastle are in this, they are basically saying we'll pay what Leipzig want, whatever it takes to get the player. We'll also pay what the player wants. But Sesko, as we've reported on here, and everybody else says, is that United have been in contact with this player for a very long time. So a Vivel, who obviously knows this kid. You know, he's obviously been doing his deal, and as was reported last week, to be fair, the week before last, even Florian Plettenberg said that we were talking to him. We were in advanced talks, and we were talking. So it has just come out now in the last hour. I'm glad I've waited to come on in stream. And if you have just joined, is that the deal for Sesko, according to Ross Harwood, and I'm just reporting what's out there. The deal for Sesko is advancing. Personal terms have been agreed with the Slovenian. Talks with Leipzig over the deal structure is getting close to agreement. Expect this deal to go through. So as we stand, and as you say there, we are definitely going to get Sesko. So this deal is advancing. What's helped us is Newcastle has pushed this deal, so they've almost forced our hand. Now I do have sympathy with them because, you know, they obviously, you know, this is the second time that we beat them for and Burmo was a target of theirs as well, so we beat them to that, and obviously Sesko is the deal. So this is going to go through. I expect this to go through very, very quickly. I'm expecting other like a Romano, Fabrizio Romano to start coming out of this very, very, very soon. Joel says, I would believe that Sesko would be trending if it was the case. We have terms and agreement and close to sign it. Ross Harwood has gone early on this one. So I do think this will start to trend. I really expect this to start coming out. I think that now Newcastle will start to back off. I'm truly really believe, and I've maybe gone early myself on this, not because I'm in the know, but I do believe that if I'm being true to myself, I do believe this deal will get done early. If you look at Newcastle, it's Newcastle on what they're trying to do. We need a striker. We want this striker. It's been decided. We don't need to sell to buy now. Apparently, I don't know what's happened there, Joel. And Newcastle, my only sticking point was Newcastle were we'll pay you. We don't need to structure a deal. Whatever you want to, we will get this deal done. But Sesko, as it's been reported by Ornstein, Romano, and it is out there, and whether you choose to believe it or not, it's not been official from the player, is that Sesko's always wanted to come to us. And to be fair, you know, Ross Harwood has gone early on this one. So I do believe personal terms have been agreed. I do believe we're trying to get this deal done quickly. So according to Ross Harwood, and I can only go and report the news, is that I don't think they'd start reporting this now or people would come out. I do agree that people do want to get early in on this one. So I'm going to be positive for once, and I want to be positive. It's not about being first to me. It's about what I see and what I believe in. And I do believe that this is formed in some sort of truth. So I'm expecting now over the next couple of days or the next day or so for Newcastle now to start backing off and for us to announce the player, because we need this player in. So we're going to see if Ross Harwood is right. And of course, we're just reporting the news here. So additionally, what I will say on this, and this kind of comes in as to what I was going to talk about this morning, is Hojlund. So I guess what has been reported a lot this morning, and again, this is just opinion, and I might put a poll up about do you want Rasmus to stay? Okay, so as reported yesterday, that potentially RB Leipzig see Rasmus as a dream replacement. Now, with this Sesko deal going to go through very, very quickly, I think we're going to see whether Rasmus is going to stay or go. Now, I do have my opinions on this, and again, I'd love you to get your opinions in this. So Danny B says keep him for one more year. Now, I agree. So where I stand in an ideal world is that we have two strikers. Now, Xerxes, you could argue and could be seen as maybe that sort of potential number 9 as well. Obviously, he's injured at the moment. He's not ideal, but he's a versatile player that Amorim does like those players. So with Sesko now agreeing terms and the structure of the deal nearly being complete, this is where we're going to see what United's plan is, and really, really quickly. So Rasmus, I would, in an ideal world, I'd keep him for another year, keep him to see if he improves. Now, I've been impressed in the couple of games. I'm not going to dissuade from what I said yesterday. A big club, irrespective of Rasmus, how he's been in 2 games, and bearing in mind you can only go on a length of time. I still maintain that when he came in at 20 years old, he got screwed over, being asked to lead the line. I mean, he cost 64 million. That was the deal. At 20 years old, I'll be consistent in this. There's not many players that can come into a big club and lead the line, especially not for the likes of us. So Joel says competition is healthy. I agree with you completely. A big club, so him being asked to lead that line at 20 years old with no understanding of how big the club is, the expectation of fans at that point, sick and tired of getting these players in for large amounts of money, and Rasmus kind of was United, in my opinion, kind of being naive themselves, bringing in this kid, expecting him to lead the line and expecting him to score these goals. I'm coming into a dressing room that's toxic, and I'm not surprised that his confidence got shot. I'm not surprised at changing coach as well. So you have to look at all those. Now, Amorim has been with him pre-season, and he does look a different player. This kid will run through brick walls, and there is potential. There is so much potential. He's 22 years old. Sesko, same age as him as well. Rasmus, he's got potential. That goal that he scored in the box is definitely, there are glimpses there. Now, I would keep him for a year. However, a big club, and you have to look at City and Arsenal, and maybe not Arsenal, but Liverpool, City, especially, Rasmus would be out the door. Irrespective of these 2 games, and we're so starved of a performance. I do question, are we so eager and so open to somebody playing well that when they play well 2 games in pre-season, we jump on board and we want him to do so well that we are willing to take a punt on this player. Now, a big club would get rid of him. My stance on it is if I suppose says road to 6k subs, please smash the like and subscribe, guys. Bobby, legend. We are on the road to 6k. Misaka says I can't see both Rasmus H and Sesko are United. And again, I'll come back to that point. I think that's a very intelligent comment to make, and probably I think where we go. If if we were a big club, we'd probably take the loss on it and sell him for 50 mil. These 2 pre-season games, there are a lot of clubs that want him. They see the potential. Now, if you're a big club and you'd sell him, the reason you'd sell him is because you've got another striker. You've got 2 or 3 strikers that So, you've taken a gamble and you would sell this player if you had more strikers around. Now, we don't have that. I have to be specific to this club because we don't have a striker. With the improvement that he's shown, with the work ethic, he's come out, and there's an interview on the United stand and others out there as well. And I have to be fair to them as well, is that he wants to stay at this club. And Amorim has said this. He wants players who wants to come and play for this club and stay in this club. And I would, at this point in time, keep him at the club. I think he's healthy for competition. OB cannot be the backup striker. He's too young. He's 17. Those clambering for him to start. I think if he was to start and put him up front, even as a number 2, you can bring him on. But the problem with that is he's too young, and will we burn him out? And the expectation will be large on him. So I'm of the opinion now that Rasmus should stay. I think time with Amorim, I think he can be the backup striker. But another reason why I would keep him as well is Sesko. Imagine you've got Sesko that plays 60, 65 minutes. And with the league and the pace, we do need 2 strikers. Now, Rasmus is quick. I do believe he's going to improve. Amarin has worked really hard on him. And I don't think Amarin would give him the time if he didn't think that he was worth it. Combination with loads of teams want him. RB Leipzig want him as well. So you would have the 2 of them. And, you can keep, Rasmus is intense. He is a little bit of a machine. So is Sesko. So what you do is you have those 2 fight. You almost create that competition. So Jay United says, hello, my friend. Welcome here. I hope you're doing really, really well. Danny B in the chat says, give him to the January window. Doesn't turn things around, then time to go. I agree with that. I think Rasmus being here will push Rasmus and Sesko. And I think, imagine 65 minutes, Sesko's been... Imagine you've got Sesko or Hojlund to come on and they will both run through a brick wall. And that's what they're doing there. Not only are they competing against each other, both young bucks trying to score goals, but the intensity. So you can have upfront intensity. Imagine having that intensity throughout a whole game. Evans Ojiembo, I apologise if I pronounced that wrong, my friend. Keep Hojlund. I agree. I want to keep Hojlund. I think the competition, I think the improvement that he's shown. Obu Nematali says, exactly my point. Both Sesko and Rasmus could bring the best out of them in terms of competition, since each other would love to be striker. Exactly. Imagine in the old days, we'd have Sheringham, Solskjaer, Cole, York. And then you'd have Ruud van Nistelrooy, Rooney, etc. You need that. Abdullah Rahim Quadrado says Onana should leave, and we can come on to that as well, my friend. We can talk about that as well. A big club would do that as well. A big club would have Rasmus and Sesko, and they would fight each other. And who's to say? Imagine throughout a whole game, 2 intense players, big guys. Sesko's 6'5", I think. Hojlund's 6'1", 6'2", I think. Imagine a defence knowing that when you take off a Sesko, who's giving you a torrid time the whole game, 6'5", leggy, army, he's a big, strong guy. And then Rasmus comes on, so you're not necessarily going to drop. I want, so Jay United says, I want the leeches to leave. I'm looking forward to next summer. Exactly, my friend. So a big club would go, you're going to, those defences, whether you're Liverpool, Arsenal, typically when we take a striker off, the quality drops. Imagine having that quality for the whole of the game. You've almost beat the other back 4s, back 3s before you start, because they know they're not going to get a rest, and teams don't typically change their back 4. So we're going to be intense, and that's what I would now keep him. I've seen him, the improvement and the jump, I think, is phenomenal. I think he's fantastic, and I would keep them both. So you give yourself that option. Now, the problem here is that will United, and according to Fabrizio Ornstein and some others, is that Rasmus may go as a make-weight. They may be seen that instead of having squad depth, we need to cut the depth. Now, my only time I would not agree, but let Rasmus leave if it was on a loan. So maybe you say, look, Rasmus, go away for a year and learn your trade, come back, and then at that point. But my caveat to that is we haven't got another striker. So unless you're going to get another backup striker in, we need that depth. Freaky says, are we? Yes. So, well, according to Ross Harwood, that the deal, and I will repeat this as well. So those of you who just joined, according to Ross Harwood, the deal for Sesko is advancing. Personal terms have been agreed. Talks with Leipzig over a deal structure is getting close to agreement. Expect this deal to go through. So Amarin is going to get his number 9. Now, whilst we're live, I will check to see what's happening, if Romano's coming out with it Romano's very good at keeping his cards close to his chest. Liverpool opening bid for Isak was worth 120, so Newcastle have rejected it as they won't open doors until they find a replacement. So that in itself, this has come from Fabrizio an hour ago, is that Liverpool opening bid for Isak was worth £120 million. It's rejected until they find a replacement. So everything for me is fitting into place. Obviously, Ross Harwood has gone early on it. For him, I hope he's right, and for me, because I'm gonna go on that and put my hat on that and just say, I really think that we're going to get this done. Ornstein is now coming out and saying that Isak Newcastle have turned Isak down for 120 mil. If that had gone through, then I would be contrary to basically saying that, well, actually, maybe Newcastle are still in. The fact that they have rejected that deal, they are looking for another striker. So the indication for me is I truly believe that this Sesko deal is going to go through quite quickly. And obviously this is because Newcastle were pushing really, really hard. But ultimately Sesko has been maintained by others in the industry. Some really high up there tier ones in the Bundesliga have maintained that United have always been in contact with Sesko, and Sesko's preference has always been to come to us. So that deal is going to get done, and I believe it's going to get done very, very quickly because it has to, and we don't have a lot of time. What have we got in the chat? So Donnarumma, are we going to get him? So Donnarumma, I think, is a ploy. I think is a ploy for him to, I think, we're being used. And obviously there are lots of different elements to when people say they want to leave and they want to come to a club. I think we're being used on that one. I think that he's trying to get a new deal, or whether or not, he's going to stay potentially and fight for a new deal. I think he's going to stay for at least a year. I think he'd be very expensive. He wants 300k. £300,000 for a keeper, I think, is a lot. So I think we are being used. I would say potentially could he come to us? Yes, but I don't think that we're looking at that right now. I do think we're being used, and I think we're probably gonna look at Lement. And actually, we can almost. That's a good segue into Anana and what some of the reports are on that. Johnny Bro 1000, who's Ross Harwood? It's not Fabrizio or Ornstein. I don't believe it. And that's a fair enough comment. I'll tell you who Ross Harwood is in a second. He is independent. I've seen a couple of his sort of posts before. He's got 60,000 on X. Obviously, you have to be careful. You have to be careful, and I do agree with that. Until Fabrizio or Ornstein, they are the GOAT, and that is I respect that completely, 100% respect that completely. But they have alluded already that this deal is going to move quickly. Romano did say that about 3 to 4 days ago that this deal you watch from the next 3 to 7, 8 days, that this deal was going to move quickly. Leipzig need to move quickly. They need to get a striker, and Newcastle are pushing this deal. So those are the words, and then you move forward, and now within that time frame, United have to move quickly. So I do think Ross Harwood has gone early on this. Let me grab X. I do believe he's gone early in this, but I've always thought, and I've got to be true to myself as well. See what Laurie Whitwell is saying as well. I'll come back to the chats. There's nothing else coming out there. He's gone early, but I've always believed this, and I've got to be true to myself in what I think. I may be wrong. People have opinions, right? Is that I've always believed we needed to get this done very, very early. I really, really believe that, because the start of the season is around the corner. Rasmus playing well, I think, is a positive, but I've always believed that we needed to get this done. There are too many factors. Sesko has been in contact with us. We do need a striker. Newcastle were pushing very, very, very hard on this, so it forces our deal. So the moment that Villa wanted 60 million, then that's when 60 million for Watkins. That's when we moved away, and we had to concretely. That's not even a bloody word, is it? We had to move for a player. Newcastle came in hard and fast because they wanted Sesko. I did always say that I could see him in a Newcastle shirt, but United had to move and move fast. And we still need to move fast because Newcastle or there or thereabouts. Sesko, for his credit, is not silly. He needs to hedge his bets because if United were using him as a ploy, again, is that fair? Probably not. So United now have to make their move because they need to make their move to get Sesko on board, and that is what they're doing. That, I believe, is what they've done. I do believe he's agreed personal terms. I think we've spoken to him so much. We've wanted him for 2 years. Obviously, Rationale has gone really early in this, but I believe it on the basis that that's my opinion, and that's what I've always thought. So I do think in the next 1 to 2 days is that we are going to announce that we are in official talks, or we might even just get a here we go, because we do need to get this quickly. I do agree though with Johnny Bro 1000 that obviously until Ornstein and Romano come out with this, obviously again, you believe, but my opinion on what I've always thought about this deal, I am of the opinion that I do believe that this is nearly done on the basis that we need to get this done. The time frame, he needs to come in and have some sort of pre-season with the club, and I've always said this, right? This is one of the things that I've hoped, and I will come back to the chat. I've had this vision in my head that when we play Arsenal, the very first game of the season, it's going to be build, and it's going to be a big game. It's going to be Gyökeres against Sesko, and Sesko scores the winning goal at home. It gives me goosebumps, literally, just thinking about that. I mean, Sesko scoring the winning goal, and if we keep playing, so if we play Everton and with this intensity, and we keep playing this, imagine that Arsenal have not done particularly well. Are we going to catch fire early doors? Sesko up front. Sesko against Arsenal. Sesko was Arsenal's number one choice. Don't be fooled on that one. Don't be dissuaded on that one. Arsenal wanted him. And he comes in. Okay, he might be slightly more expensive. He comes in and he scores the winning goal. I mean, how just would that be? And we kick off the season really, really well. So, I am starting to be positive. I'm going to be positive because this deal, I think, will get done quickly, and he could be up front for Arsenal, scoring that winning goal, and we win that game. So I am so looking forward to that. And exactly as Bobby says there, I can't wait to see Mbeumo. Can you imagine that front three? Okay. Also, if we keep Hojlund as well, so you've got Hojlund to come in there as well with those, and Hojlund's been playing so well, and you look at what he's had. He's had Mount behind him, Ahmad is a good player, but he's not had those two players behind him. So imagine Sesko, Hojlund, potentially Cunha, just that front three is fantastic. Now, again, there are different reports as well that yesterday Romano, Ornstein, a load of others as well, Whitwell as well, that Hojlund might be sacrificed for this deal. RB Leipzig want Hojlund, and that may be the make way in this deal. They may come in and they may take Hojlund. Now, at this present time, I do think a big club. Let's go back and see where we are with the poll. So we've had 102 votes, which is phenomenal. 74% of you would keep Rasmus, and 26 of you wouldn't. I'm in the camp of now I would keep him for squad depth. If we got a really good price for him, would you sell him? But you would need to get another striker. And this is where I am on it. You only let Rasmus go if you're going to get another striker. We need 3 strikers for depth. But as of now, I would keep Rasmus Højlund. So let's go through the chat a little bit and then we can move on slightly. So where are we? Chido Obi. So Obu says Chido Obi cannot be in any pressure either of Sesko and Rasmus. If seen as a backup striker for the first time in a very long time, we have 2 top strikers. Exactly, and that's what I want to see. I want Amarin to push for this. I want Amarin to say, look, Hojlund, he has started, and I've seen, I don't think all his runs are good, but again, I think he will improve that. He's already improved. I mean, that header is what we all want to see, right? And now with Sesko green terms, he's going to come. I want to see Hojlund fighting for Sesko. It pushes. Imagine having 2 22-year-old hungry young buck strikers. I mean, how many clubs can say that they would have that? So I think that would be a master stroke. I think that would be fantastic. Rasmus's wages are not too high. To have 2 young strikers, 22, fighting each other, they could be great friends as well. You know, I think that would be a, shift in what we've tried to do. Let's go along. Jay says we failed Hojlund, not his fault. 75 mil, that's on our board. Jay, the cost was 65 million, my friend. 64 million. I've checked this out. That is what the agreed deal was, and the add-ons are not going to be paid, right? So right now, the deal for Rasmus was 64 mil. So when you look at that, you know, it's not a bad deal. And, you know, he's still going to be worth X amount of, you know, he's still going to be worth close to that 40 to 45 mil mark. And there are a lot of teams that still want him. So, you know, it's not as bad, I don't think, as we thought. We put Hojlund in the deep end as a new league with no experience, helping to train or watch him from the bench like a Vardy or Kane. Exactly that. And I agree with that completely. Temescan, another legend of the chat. Welcome to United. Sesko, Carlos B, or Hojlund, Emi Martinez, Amarin, transfer loan king in Leo Sanchez, Mitrovic to United. I love your players that you get in there, as always. See, now I wouldn't mind a lone striker. Calvert-Lewin, still not for me. Vardy, still not for me. I think we could get a better potential lone striker or a backup striker. I want Hojlund. Hojlund for me, he's already here. So Hojlund for me is the striker that I would keep. And then we don't need to worry about loans. We've already got the player here who's improving. And that's what I want to see. Ornstein is the best, most reliable source. Fab jumps on any noise to get clicks, in my opinion. He does not use United at clickbait, let's be honest. Fabrizio, yeah, Ornstein, and I'm going to be consistent on this. You know, he is the mouthpiece, right? He is the GOAT when it comes to us. Fabrizio, you know, whether or not we like it, whenever he speaks, you know, he has coined the phrase "Here we go," and people obviously they gravitate to him. So he's not official until he says it. He does jump on board with stuff, but it is when Ornstein comes out and really says it. Ornstein, no, he seems like a really good guy, but he is the mouthpiece of the club, and you know, whenever he says stuff or gets given stuff, you know that that's 100% true and comes from the club. Aaron says, I got the away kit today. I would love to get the away kit and the home kit, but I have to be true to myself and say, you know, put in money. I'll get them for my children, but I'm not right now prepared to put money in the Glazers' pocket. I can't be a hypocrite in that regard, but I don't hold that opinion. You know, you want to get their shirt, fantastic. You know, I do like it, and you know, I hope you enjoy the shirt. You know, I'm not going to say, oh, you shouldn't buy shirts and you shouldn't do this. You know, you support the club. You know, and I sort of wish I didn't hold the opinion that I do. It would be nice to get a new shirt, but that's where sort of I am on that. Bobby, I'm a big fan of Hojlund. I just pray he can find form in the EPL. Yeah, I agree with that. I do agree with that. I really do. So what else we got? Bobby, it's nice to meet you. Yeah, Jay United. Bobby is a legend of the chat, so get in there with Bobby. Bobby is a legend. Fantastic. What we got? Giles says interesting news coming out about United. First, before pre-season, every player got a fitness routine to follow, and data shows they followed it. Second, closed training because it exactly. That's really nice to hear, and it shows. It has been showing on the pitch. Newcastle. So Dehexian says Newcastle supporters still think they're getting Sesko. Well, they've got to believe something, haven't they? Unless this takes a dramatic twist, which I don't think it will, you're going to see Newcastle moving away to targets now. You know, there's nothing against them. This is not about them. You know, they are a big club in their own right, but they're not a global brand. They still don't have that power. They've got all this money, but they can't do anything with the money. So my sympathies are with them and their fans, but this is the real world. And you know, when a club like United, whether you like it or not, they're still the biggest draw in town, biggest club in England, one of the biggest clubs in the world. When they come knocking with a project, whether the project comes off or not, you listen and you come to the club, and that's sadly where we are on that. Giles says West Ham submit formal bid for Brazilian keeper John Victor. I think we've moved away, Joe, and you know that's interesting news. And again, that's to bring it into the keeper situation. I'm not bothered. I think before my opinion was no cheap deal, but is he cheap for a reason? And you know, West Ham, good luck to them. You know, I hope he does well for them. So I'm all in agreement with that. I'm kind of glad now when players start being linked to us. It's nice to be linked to some of the better players, but when these sorts of deals or players, you know, kind of leave, I'm more than happy for that. So if you have just joined, according to Ross Howard, who's an independent, you know, followers wise 60,000, he's gone early on this one as well, so it's not coming from Ornstein or Romano. But the reason why I'm taking this on board is because this is what I believe and what I've always believed over the last couple of days. Give him a little quote out there as well, is that I will read it word for word if it bothers coming up. Deal for Sesko advancing. Personal terms have been agreed. Talks of Leipzig over a deal structure getting close to agreement. Expect this deal to go through. Now, you can believe that or not. It really depends on, and I'm not going to call you out or whatever else. It just fits in with what I believe, and it fits in with Isak deal now beaten. Newcastle have rejected Liverpool's approach for Isak. If that had have been accepted, I would worry slightly, but it hasn't. 120 million has been rejected offhand, so it just goes to show. Romano has said earlier this week, expect something big on this deal between 3 to 7 days. We've moved on, so we're now in that period where I think this deal is going to get done. We've spoken to Sesko. Florian Plettenberg, Tier 1 in the Bundesliga, have said that we've been in talks with him for a long time, and I think he wanted that commitment for us to make a move. We've had to make a move early. This is what I've always believed. Is we've had to make this move early to get this player in quick because Newcastle were pushing hard. Newcastle, you know, it could be a ploy by them to say, look, you know, we Leipzig might have used Newcastle as well to say, look, you bid higher end, so United have to match this bid. They will basically have no choice. So United have had to push hard on this deal, and they've had to get this in place. They've also had to put a bid in or get a structure of a bid in place, because it shows Sesko that we're not using him and we need him. So I think terms have been agreed. I don't think that's an issue. I think those terms have been agreed. United have had to push hard for this deal, and they're pushing hard because they basically have to get this deal done. So that's what we're going to say over the next day or two, maybe Monday, simply because it's the weekend, is that we're going to get this deal done. Terms have been agreed. Leipzig structure, I also think, has been agreed, and we are going to start seeing a deal in principle. I think we're going to start seeing terms agreed. I think that's what we're going to, because we need to get this deal done. We've only got Everton on Sunday, Fiorentina, and then the Arsenal game. So we've got to get Sesko in. We have to get him in very, very quickly. So Bobby, see you later, my friend. Obu, let's read some of these chats. What have we got in here? Obu, why want Watkins, who earned his first England call-up in his old age? Imagine how many times you've seen Sesko play for his national team. Exactly. Shesko's played in the Champions League. Shesko's played for his national team. Watkins, I think Watkins gets... I think he's underrated for what he does, and I think if Newcastle, for example, went to him and got him, I think it'd be a good deal for them. I'm not going to dismiss Watkins. He is a good striker, but United have decided to go down a different route, and Watkins, for me, I'm not going to go too much into Watkins. I wanted him for different reasons, but Sesko is now what we've gone through, and I'm all in on Sesko. Jay, United, Obu, I just wanted experience to help out. We already have. Exactly. If we were going to get a Watkins and a Sesko, or a Watkins and a Hojlund, then either one of those works. But we've decided that we're going to take that gamble, and we're going to take that punt, and we're going to go all in on Sesko. And is it the right deal to do? We're going to see in the annals of time. But financially, I think those of us who are worried about this financially, it makes sense. From a business perspective, it makes sense. Do you want to throw £45 million in a bin? Not because Watkins is not good enough, just because what you're saying is he needs to. So for 45 million, you're saying you need to guarantee me goals. If he doesn't, there's no time. There's no time to get him goals. If he gets injured, there is literally no time. Sesko gets 2 years grace, really. He does need to hit the ground slightly, but we do have to be fair here. So we give him time. He's young, and you're not throwing £70 million down the drain. After the season that Hojlund had, if he can still retain the value, and he's only 22, it makes sense. So financially, it makes sense. We need to see what he can do on the pitch. So 155 votes in this, which is fantastic. 72 are saying yes for Hojlund and no for him to go. And I think I'm in agreement with that. Tulip Plays, legend of the chat and one of our mods. Let's go hit the like button, chat. Exactly. Give us a like. 63 of you watching. If you all gave us a like, it really does help us out. You don't have to. Of course you don't. It's completely free. Get in the chat and let's discuss this. Aaron says the printing actually somehow... Let's have a little look what he says. The printing actually somehow already got creased. Talking about his away shirt. There are two prices for those away shirts. I think £70 or £120 for that shirt. I think it's a ludicrous amount of money. Hopefully the shirt will be fine and the quality's there, my friend. And hopefully it lasts you a whole season and beyond. Jay, United are back on manager and back on players except Onana. He drives me crazy. So let's go on to Onana. Actually, let me try and get through some of these chats and then we can go on to Onana. Tensu again in the chat, legend of the chat. I think Rasmus should stay, become back of Sesko. Is there anything new about Sesko at this time? Tensu, just for you, my friend. Again, if you're just joining, Ross Harwood, who's is independent, 60,000 followers on X. Whether you think that's good or bad. I mean, I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. He's gone early on this one. And you can sort of believe this or not. So according to Ross Harwood, a deal for Sesko is advancing over an hour ago. Personal terms have been agreed talks with United talks with Leipzig over a deal structure are getting close to an agreement. Expect this deal to go through. And as I've already said, and I'll repeat myself, I don't mind. Yes, it's not Ornstein. Yes, it's not a Romano. But in my opinion, and it goes with what I thought, and it goes with, and I can only be logical on this one. Obviously, you can play both sides. Is that I've always thought this deal is going to be quick. Newcastle were pushing hard. Liverpool have just offered 120 million for Isak, and they've turned it down. If they'd agreed it, the only way they're going to agree it is if they've got a striker. They've literally just knocked that deal back, and that's according to Fabrizio and Ornstein. They've knocked that deal back because they haven't got a striker. If they were in negotiations, if they were in for Sesko, if terms had been agreed, there's no way they're knocking that back. They may try to do us over with a parting shot and give Leipzig more money, give Leipzig 75 million. Newcastle can go in there with their money and say, look, we'll get this deal done. We'll pay you whatever you want. You name your price. Even if they paid 70 mil, they've still got 50 mil in the bank. If Liverpool come in with another 10, that's, and they've literally got another 60 mil. So they can do this deal. But ultimately what this comes down to is that Sesko wants to come to us. We've been in talks with him for a long, long time. He wasn't ready to come to the club. Now he is. What he wanted is us to put in a deal, a structured deal, to prove that we wanted him. After his experience with Arsenal, I do believe he wanted to go to Arsenal. Arsenal wanted this player, but they used him in a deal. He doesn't want that to happen again. He can't. With all the reports of Watkins, he's not stupid. He's going to read that. He wants a commitment from us to put in a deal before he comes out and says, I want to come to this club. And this is what we've had to do. Newcastle have forced this deal through. We have to do this quickly. We have done it quickly, in my opinion. We are in negotiations, which has been confirmed by Fabrizio Ornstein, and this deal had to get done quickly. So I do believe that we're going to announce this deal as quickly as we can, because Newcastle can still come in and do some nefarious things, because it's their right to do. And maybe if they know they're not going to get a player, why let us have a free run at him? So the fact that Isak, the deal for him, and Liverpool have offered 120 mil, they've turned that deal down. Why would they turn that down if they know that they're going to get a player? So there are too many factors. If you look at it from a logical perspective, this deal is going to get done quick. It has to. We don't have the time. We do not have the time. We have the funds. We don't have the time. Premier League starting in about 2 weeks' time. We need to get this deal done. So this is going to be done. I think Ross Harwood is spot on with this one. But of course, until Ornstein comes out or a Romano comes out with, here we go. No, we're not going to believe it, are we? It's not about international games. Just kind of read back what we've got on here. Danny B says 45 maxes for Watkins. Villa won't accept that, and that's why he's gone. So Boaz, Hojlund is the best striker to come off the bench. I agree with you, Boaz. I think we should keep him. 179 votes now. 72% of you are still saying that we should keep him. I agree. Possibly he's a make weight because Leipzig do want Hojlund. He's their dream replacement. It makes sense. He's very similar to Sesko in some respects, 22 years old. It wouldn't surprise me if he goes out on loan. And I'd be very, very disappointed with that now. I think Rasmus is working well. And I think we'd be very disappointed to make him part of this Sesko deal. And we're going to see this very, very quickly. If Rasmus is not in the team on Sunday, then I think that tells you everything you need to know about what's going to go on. But I'm in agreement. Rasmus would be fantastic. Imagine Sesko is a beast running at a back four for 60, 65 minutes. Gets a bit tired. Rasmus comes on hungry. And again, continuing that theme of pressing, that will pay dividends for us. We need another striker. So why not keep the player who's here and have him here to compete? Imagine two young 22-year-old hot shots fighting over the number one spot. It will be a shift in culture, and I really hope that we manage to keep these players. Watkins is more assists than Sesko last season. Watkins isn't far behind goals either. 54, 17, 14. Sesko, bearing in mind Watkins is Prem and Sesko isn't. So Jay, I think that's a really, really fair point, my friend. I think that is a really, again, I can't argue with that. I was in that camp, and the reason why I'm not is because now we've gone for Sesko. So there's in my opinion, Watkins is gone, but I think you make a good point. My only thing with Watkins, and I agree with you, he's underrated. He gets you goals. I mean, the last 2-3 seasons, he's guaranteed you 20, 25 goal involvement. He's fit. He's hardly injured. But what you're doing, and I think it's an equal gamble with Watkins. If you say 45 mil, you are chucking that 45 million pound in the bin. That's a sunk cost. That's gone. We're not getting that back, irrespective of whether he scores 30, 40 goals a season. You're not getting that back. But he's equal amount of a risk financially, because he's having to guarantee you those goals. But what would you be looking to do with Watkins? You need those goals, but what are you going to do with those goals? Is your aim Champions League? And if so, he needs to get in there, and he may get you Champions League, which is over like 100 million, and you've made that money back, and that sunk cost is gone. That's fine, but you got to factor in his age. 30 isn't necessarily old for a striker. He's still in his prime. He's still a very, very, very good striker. You cannot take that away from him. But it's equally as much of a risk. So for me, Watkins, you go for Watkins if you are really pushing for those Champions League spots. You've got a complete team. That's, you've got your midfielder, you've got your Onana gone, and you're pushing for those 4 spots. But as a club, I don't think we're confident enough for that. So Sesko does buy you time. Financially, it makes more sense. But I do agree, Watkins, if we'd have gone for him, I wouldn't have been against that. And the points that you make are very, very valid. And I think you're right on that. But we need to take some sort of gamble, either on a more experienced older striker or a younger potential striker, 22 years old, potentially that can kick on, but he's not proven in the Premier League. So we've taken a gamble on Sesko, and we've now got to trust in the recruitment team, and we've got to trust that Amarin can get the best out of Sesko. But I do agree with that comment as well. Do you think Heaton is better than Onana and being that 100%? I do. If Onana is still here, Onana is going to play, but I will happily get rid of him. And as for the Onana point, so he's come out from Whitwell and he's come out from a lot of others as well, is that Onana will go if he's asked to go. So all we've got to do is get a new goalkeeper or tell Onana that he's got to leave, and he'll leave. Let's get this guy out of the club. I mean, I would play for the club. I mean, I'm only 5'10", so but I will happily sign for the club. He will go if we sign a new goalkeeper. Get him out. Get him out. Just sign anybody and get him out. And that's exactly what I would do. So we need to, again, and this aligns with what I believe, is that we need to get Sesko out, and we need to get a keeper and a centre midfielder. I don't know if we are going to get that, but Sesko, a new goalkeeper, and I think we're there or thereabouts. There might be some sort of deal to do if Garnacho goes to Chelsea, but centre midfielder, I think we need to park there. But Onana is open to going. So what I say is we go and get a goalkeeper, we get him out, and then I wish him the best. Jay says Werner and Nkunku, Sancho, etc. looked amazing in the German league. And Jay, again, I can't argue with your points, my friend. You're making some good points here. I can't argue with that. But unless you take that risk and that gamble, and we're going to, is that Sesko. I think Sesko's slightly different. I think he's had his education elsewhere, and I think he's waited until he's slightly old enough. But there is a gamble and there is a risk there, and you could and again you could place that at the door of lots of strikers. So Haaland is the best example of that. Bundesliga, scoring all those goals. He looked extremely good in that league, and he's come to the Premier League and he's still banged it, and still, he's still done the business. So for every Nkunku, for every Sancho, there is a Haaland as well. So, there are swings and roundabouts. Where do I think he'll fall? He's not going to be a Haaland, but you don't know. But I definitely think he's not going to be a Sancho or a Werner. But we will find out. Abubu says if Premier League experience is where so Jack Grealish, City and Mason Mount for United. Mason Mount, we got done over. Mason Mount was... Chelsea did us over there, mate. Mason Mount, Premier League proven but injured. He's got a long-standing, potentially career-ending injury. And we signed him anyway. So whoever signed that deal off needs to be looked at. I'd sack them instantaneously. Mason Mount, for me, is a squad player at best. I hope Mason Mount has a good season and we can sell him next season. And that's what I'm hoping for this season. If Mason Mount plays a pivotal role in this season, amazing. But this season for him is a massive season. If he plays well, I'd still sell him at the end of the season. But let's see where we go on that one. Jay says, Obu, mate, this is like saying when Heaton for United, where's Lindelof? The Hexian says, where's the Hexian gone? The Hexian, Isak also rejected a new contract today. Exactly. And that's exactly it. You've summed it up there. Newcastle are now panicking and pivoting. Whether Isak likes it or not, he's got a contract, and if they cannot get a new striker, Isak's going to have to stay. So all the indications that Ross Harwood is correct, I think he's going to be proven correct on this one. Tensu, Man United should sign a defensive midfielder right now. I agree. We need another one in there. I think that's going to be for next season, my friend, unless we get a load of money for Anthony and Garnacho and Sancho will go, which I do think they will. I think it's a bit late in the window to go and get that world-class kind of, that amazing defensive midfielder. The money involved would be ridiculous now, so I think we're going to park that one. I do want to see another midfielder come in. Rios would have been perfect. He's gone to Benfica, but I don't think that we're going to get a centre midfielder. Hopefully I'm wrong, but I do agree with you on that one. Jay, where are we? Jay or Boo? Let's second Sesko for goodness sake and stop being primitive in ideas. That everyone will be Haaland, Mbappe, or Bellingham. Some players are slow burners, or some are fast. Exactly, Jay. Again, mate, you're making some banging points today, my friend. I can't disagree with that. I think it really depends on what camp you fall in, and obviously, I like the fact that you're tempering your expectations, which I think that we need to do, and that's what I'm going to do. But I can only support this player now. He's going to come to us. He's agreed to come to us. So Sesko for me he's going to get my support, and I really hope that he does a Bellingham or Haaland, because we absolutely going to need that, particularly if Rasmus goes. I don't want him to go, but let's see what goes on there. I'll back Sesko if he comes. I hope he does well. Exactly, Jay. And I think, Jay, I think we're in the same camp, my friend. I'm with you. I'm logical. I'll do try to see both sides of it. I want Sesko to hit this ground and do amazingly well. And let's see, now he's agreed terms, and I'm sticking by that. And now that we are in negotiations, let's hope we can get him in early enough and he can adapt to the system and score the winning goal against Arsenal. If Watkins comes in and he doesn't spark, what will be your excuse to me? Very surprised if Watkins sparked in the league. Rasmus should stay and back up to Sesko. I need to see all competition. Tensu, I agree with you, my friend, 100%. So Jermaine says, I believe Rasmus will do well if he stays. Jermaine, I agree with you. I really do agree with you. And now I like how the fan base has shifted. You know, Rasmus, I'll be consistent, and this has already been said in the chat. With Rasmus, I always have said this, and I will maintain this. 20 years old, asking to come in to lead the line for this club in a toxic club with all those mercenary players. You know, you had Sancho, Bruno to a point, Rashford, these players not passing to him, not getting the ball into the box. What's he supposed to do? Who is he supposed to learn from? You know, back in the day, you know, Rasmus would have come in for that sort of money and he'd have a Rude to learn from, a Van Persie to learn from, a Dwight York to learn from, you know, an Andy Cole, a Brian McClare, a Mark Hughes. You know, he would have these experienced players to learn from, and he hasn't had any of that. 20 years old, not understanding what this club is, the expectation. I'm not surprised he didn't do well. And then last season, again, you know, these players were still here. You know, the arguments, the fallings out, you know, Rasmus coming, Amarin coming in for this system, not really having time to sit with these players, learn these players. Amarin didn't want to come in until now, you know, having the time with these players. He didn't have time. Hojlund's confidence was on the floor. He's 21 years old. He's a kid. What did we expect to happen? I was always of the opinion that, yes, maybe he's not the guy, but Amarin needed a pre-season with these players. He needed a pre-season, and now he's got it. And I was clambering and asking for that, and now I have it. I'd be a hypocrite to say I want to sell him. I've always wanted to give Rasmus another season under this coach, and I'd be a hypocrite if I said that I didn't. Conversely to that, if we had another striker or were buying a second striker, I think Rasmus would go, and a bigger club would do that. Maybe they wouldn't take a chance on him. But we've got nothing to lose. We don't have another striker. I just think that we have an opportunity for two 22-year-old strikers. Rasmus is showing improvement. That goal that he scored, he was never scoring that last season. We're getting balls into the box. We're passing to him. We're getting crosses into the box. He's still learning. With Sesko coming in, pushing each other, Rasmus, in my opinion, needs to stay. But I don't know if the club are going to do that. I think it's going to be Rasmus or Sesko, and I think Rasmus will go, but I want him to stay. I want him to stay. Jay, you know, says, I've always backed Rasmus, poor lad. Maguire's prime example of all the hate, and Maguire never gave up and tried. He's done that the last few seasons. That's respect. Exactly. And this is what we didn't have before. Respect players. Maguire, whatever you think about him, to go through that and to come back, that's what Rasmus needs to see. That's what these young players needs to see. I'm not saying Maguire is the best defender in the world. I'm not saying that we wasted cash on him. But you will look at mentality and you look at what we're trying to do with these young players. He's a prime example of that, and that's exactly what we need to do. Yeah, 41 likes on this video is amazing. Probably one of the best so far. I genuinely thank you for that. I just honestly, it blows my mind that you guys spent time with me, and I'm telling you now, this is the best chat. We don't always agree on different stuff, and it's right to have your opinions, and as long as we are respectful of our opinions, it can get heated at times because obviously we have our opinions and we love this club, but ultimately these opinions are the ones that shape us, are the ones that ultimately, these are the things that go on in our head, and it's always nice to get them out and debate them, and it should be fun. If one of us is right, one of us is wrong, somebody's going to be right, and it's not about personal accolades for me. It's about the love for this club and the respect of each other and other fans, and that is exactly what we should be doing. And this chat is so even if you come here and you don't like me, get in this chat. There are some amazing chats in here, some brilliant, intelligent chats. And if I was a United fan or the club, I'd come here and I'd listen to my chat. I'm very fortunate to have such intelligent and amazing people in this chat. Lorik says Rasmus on loan, it should be better than selling him. He's not that bad last season. Lorik, I'm adverse to selling him or letting him go, but if we had to, I agree with you, I'd rather a loan and bring him back. That is what I would much rather do, but I want him to stay. But if it's a worst case, I'd rather loan him to Leipzig, let Leipzig get their own striker for next season, and he comes back a better striker. Because then I can't be a hypocrite and say I don't want to loan him to Leipzig, because we literally just got Sesko from the same club. So it could be that he goes there and Leipzig do make him a more complete striker, and he comes back, and then we have Sesko and a Hojlund. I want him this season, but worst case is I'd rather loan him out. As Danny B says, we can't forget the few players under 21 to score six. We can't forget the few players under 21 to score 6 consecutive matches in Prem. Exactly. We're putting all this pressure on these players, and I'm not saying that we're wrong for that. Is it fair? Probably not, but we're so starved of players that any talent that we get, we automatically hone in on them because we need them to do well. We want them to do well, and that is what we want to do as a fan base. Whereas hopefully now Amorim is going to make the support players or the squad players better, so we don't have to rely on these young players like Obi. We were screaming for him, and I was not necessarily screaming for him to play, but we didn't have another striker. So what option did we have? Wanting to play a 16-year-old kid, 17 now, it goes to show how low this club has had fallen. So no, I don't blame OB at all. So guys, I am going to leave it there, another hour. Anyone who's just joined or who's in the chat, Ross Harwood, who is an independent, has basically come out and said that the deal for Sesko is advancing. Personal terms have been agreed. Talks of Leipzig over a structure of the deal is getting close, so expect this deal to go through. And I'm in full agreement with this. I do believe this deal. I do believe Sesko. I think Ross is right. I think this deal is going to go through very, very quickly. I do think that we have the structure of the deal is nearly done. Logically, I've been saying this. It fits in with Fabrizio's timeline, with Ornstein's timeline as well. It also fits in that Newcastle were pushing hard for this deal, paying whatever Leipzig wanted. They offered Sesko, whatever, the deal is there. The deal is there to do for them. We have also, and Plettenberg, Tier 1 in the Bundesliga, reported 2-3 weeks ago that we're in talks with him. I believe we've been in talks with him for a long, long time. But Sesko, after the debacle with Arsenal wanting him, he was their number one target, using him in the deal. He wanted commitment from us, and for us to agree personal terms, he needed that commitment for us to make a bid, an official bid. And I think that official bid is going to come in really, really soon. It wouldn't even surprise me if it was a deal in principle. I think over the next couple of hours, maybe tomorrow, it is a weekend, so it may rumble on until Monday, that Sesko is going to commit to us, and we're going to get a Fabrizio saying that this deal is advancing. Another indicator is Newcastle have turned down Isak, 120 million. If Newcastle accepted that deal, I'd be a little bit more concerned. Newcastle have been pushing this deal. I've been pushing. The deal would be done by now if that was the case. So I think Ross is right. I think terms have been agreed, and the structure of the deal has also been agreed, and we're going to get something very, very, very soon. Tench said, we regret when Rasmus is another good club. I think he will be good in the Premier League step by step. I want to keep him. 250 votes on this as well, which is fantastic. 72% of you say yes, you'd keep him. I would keep him as well. We all love United. We all want to win, and we all hate the Glazers. Great stream, mate. As a nice one. Thank you, pal. Jamie Vargas says, howdy from Texas. Jamie, welcome from Texas, my friend. I've been to Texas. Well, I've been to Houston. I've been to the airport. I once went to Albuquerque. So Texas, I love you guys in Texas. Really, really cool place. Fantastic people. So I really, really, really like Texas. Tensu, I think Rasmus will perform better before the previous years. He was good in the last 2 games. Agreed, but it is only 2 games. But again, as I say, I cannot be a hypocrite and say I wanted to see something from these 2 games. I was disappointed at the formation, disappointed at the squad before the Bournemouth game, but I was blown away by how they played, and Sesko's really improved. So I've got what I wanted to see, so I'm more confident going into the season, and Sesko agreeing to come now, I think is one of the icings on the cake. Jamie Vargas, if we get Sesko, what are your thoughts on what place we finish 5th? So you're from Dallas, home of the Dallas Cowboys. Great team. Emmanuel says he can't score goals. Is that Rasmus or Sesko? So that'll be come back in that. Oliver Sinclair, where did you hear the news about personal terms agreed? I hope what we can sign. So this is coming from Ross Harwood. It's not coming from an Ornstein. It's not coming from a Romano. Ross has said, Ross Harwood, who is an independent, has come out and he's set his stall out early, and he said, deal for Sesko advancing, personal terms agreed with the Slovenian. Talks with Leipzig over a deal structure, getting close to agreement. Expect this deal to go through. Now, I'm in agreement with this, so this is my opinion, and I'm in agreement with Ross Harwood. To go over it slightly, the reason why I agree, JB, for real, is this the Matrix? Hello, chat. Roger. That's Rasmus. Emmanuel, let's see, shall we? He hasn't been able to score goals, but let's see if he can score some goals. So it's come from Ross Harwood. Now, I'm being true to myself here, and my opinion and my logic is trying to dictate here for me personally, is that there are too many factors. Romano Ornstein came out a couple of days ago and said that you watch this deal, this is going to explode. Newcastle were pushing this deal. The reason why it's going to happen so quickly is because Newcastle were pushing this deal hard. Okay, United internally made the decision to go for Sesko. Watkins is out of the picture. He's gone. He's done. Newcastle pushing so hard on this deal. Combination of Sesko needed us to make a bid, a fair bid for us to commit because of what happened with Arsenal. Newcastle pushing hard on this player. So I truly believe all those factors combined, along with Newcastle just rejected 120 million bid for Isak. Isak's not going to sign a new deal. So if Newcastle have the money, will pay whatever they wanted, and that's not gone through yet. Newcastle still might make it difficult in terms of monetary wise because they can pay whatever they like, but this deal has to get done. This has to get done quick. Sesko is only willing to agree terms if we agree a fee and a structure of that fee. Once that's done, is pretty much done. So I think we're going to get a deal in principle really quickly. I think we're going to get a here we go quite quickly. It is Friday. We are quite slow over a weekend, so this may be purposefully done now. So we may get it the next couple of hours. We may get it tomorrow, if not Monday. I'm convinced by Monday we will get this here we go, or it will be printable, and it will be that this will get done. Jay, reason Hojlund can't score goals is because as a club we failed him, training facilities. Exactly, Jay. Agree with you. How can, as a striker, you don't get balls put into the box, you don't get balls played to feet? What are you supposed to do? We have failed him as a club, not Rasmus. We failed him as a club, but he now has a manager who clearly believes in him. So, you know, I think if we keep him, sorry, I've got to be giddy with it. There's a high-profile striker willing to join us. Exactly that, my friend. We've got to celebrate these sorts of deals. So David Vargas says, do you think we need another midfielder like a Luis or Juventus or Aguera? Luis, by all accounts, is going to go to Forest. These are the reports that Forest are playing hard for him. So he may go on loan to Forest with a option to buy for 25 million. So I believe we need another midfielder, but unless a Collier goes or a Casemiro goes, I don't think we're going to get one. I think that was put out there as a little bit of spin, but I'm demanding one. I think we do need to do that, but we won't get a world-class one until next season. But I do think we do. Guerra for me is too much of a number 10 type. So I think we should move away from him. But it doesn't mean to say next season, if we shift some midfielders out, then we go and get him maybe next season. Shift Fit, welcome to the chat, my friend. If Rasmus goes, the pressure for Sesko will be too high and could affect his performance with 90 minutes. Depth issue, can't rely. Swift Fit, fantastic. I think this chat agrees with you. I think I agree with you as well. I think you've hit the nail on the head. Very intelligent thing to say, my friend. I think we all agree with you on that one. The pressure on Sesko will be very, very high. We need competition for him because competition is healthy. If he can share that load, if he can share that responsibility with Hojlund, I think if Hojlund goes, it will adversely affect him. I think he's big enough to take it, but Hojlund, the combination of those two players, I think you're spot on, my friend. I think having a Hojlund-Sesko combination to keep up that intensity for all that game, I think will be a shift in culture, but I think it will pay dividends for both players, and that's what I want to see. And I think you're absolutely spot on, Swift. I think you are spot on, and I agree with that completely. Rob says, please like and subscribe. Thanks, Rob. Another legend. Appreciate that, my friend. It helps us out. It creates this community. This community is growing, getting bigger, and honestly, if you read this chat through, some of the most intelligent people on here. I love the chat, different opinions. It's just fantastic. Chief Herb said our pool is on different levels. Little Wayne was on point when he said money talk. Oh shit, walks. Swift is spot on. Richard Francis said, good day, guys. Good day, my friend. Rasmus should stay because he needs to come in when Sesko's not there. You know that this is a game of football. If Sesko's injured, who's going to replace him? We should keep two. Richard Francis, much like Swift, spot on. 100% spot on, my friend. Absolutely spot on. I could not agree more with you. Jay says we do need more players like this. We overplay them, no quality on the bench, and this will ruin plays. Exactly, my friend. Emmanuel says yes, we need a midfielder. Casemiro's awful. I think he should go. Damien G6, hello from New Zealand. Hello there. Great to catch up in a live show. Rasmus to stay. We need a backup in every part of the team. And I agree wholeheartedly, my friends. Now, I'm going to have to go 118, an hour and 18 minutes. Fantastic. I genuinely mean this. Is that I cannot believe you've given me your time. This is the most liked so far. The views are amazing. The poll has been fantastic, and I genuinely mean this, is that this is the best chat on here. Everybody in this chat is getting to the point now where it's too big to name everybody, but you're all legends of this chat. Thank you. And I will always say this, I think it's really important to say this. You cannot buy his time, and you've given me your time today. You've given me over an hour, and you can't buy time. So for you to spend time with me and this chat, talking to each other, that means more to me than anything else, and I genuinely thank you for that. So to highlight this, Sesko has agreed terms. It's according to Ross Harwood. Sesko has agreed terms, and the structure of the deal is nearly done, and I expect to here we go on a Sesko deal, which is amazing, very, very soon. So if that breaks, I will come back and let you know for sure if it breaks from an Ornstein. But when this does, remember, you come on here, and we were talking about it before any of the others. I've gone on this based on what I think. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but this is what I believe. So thank you guys for watching. Amazing as always. I genuinely mean this. It means so much to me, more than you will ever know, to be here with you amazing people. So thank you for watching, guys. I'll try and come back on as soon as I can, and I'll see you very, very soon. Have a good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are.